Hello, listeners. Welcome back. How are you doing today? Today's first story is about Am I the a-hole for refusing to take my sister-in-law on a romantic getaway? Keep on listening. So let's begin. I, a female 28, have been friends with Brittany, a female 28, since we were about 5 or 6, and we are very close to this day. As part of having a friendship with me, she was around my brother, male 30, quite a lot as children, and their romance blossomed as teenagers. They were married 5 years ago. Unfortunately, my brother passed 2 years ago in a tragic accident and left behind a mountain of debt for Brittany. She was 8 months pregnant at the time and ended up moving in with my parents. Her and her daughter, Lilac, 2 female, live with my parents to this day, and the family alternate watching Lilac so Brittany can get her degree. Everyone has really rallied around Brittany in such a trying time. For Christmas, my husband, M30, bought an all-inclusive trip for him and I to explore Paris and have a romantic getaway. I have always had France on my wish list, and I am so grateful to him for such a wonderful gift. We leave in February for 2 weeks, and it is honestly a dream come true. I told my parents about the gift, and they then told Brittany, who called me in floods of tears asking that I take her instead of my husband. She said that she will never be able to experience a romantic getaway like that with her own husband, and that we, my husband and I, could just go again at another time. She said she gave up everything to raise Lilac and she would love for us to have a girls' trip like we did when we were younger. I told Brittany that that was not possible. This was a gift from my husband to me and I fully expected to have a romantic getaway with him. Brittany told me that I was punishing her for being a widow and that it was unfair I would have a love affair in Paris while she cried at my brother's grave. My husband thinks she is trying to make me feel guilty, but said he would step out of the trip if I would like to take Brittany. The thing is that I want to go with my husband, but my parents have since called to tell me that they would watch Lilac and that I should not rub my happy marriage in Brittany's face. My mom told me I would be selfish to leave a grieving widow over Valentine's Day. Am I being an a-hole? Now for the top comments. From mobile_prune_3207 not the a-hole. That's such an unreasonable request and frankly, if that's the way she feels, she should be going for therapy. You're not throwing your marriage in her face, you're celebrating your marriage between you and your husband. Kuet says. Moreover, your parents are the ones who told Brittany about the trip, not you. So how can they say you are rubbing it in her face? Take a weekend with her to the spa if you want to, but do not compromise about your Christmas gift. And to be honest, the fact she said you are punishing her for being a widow by going to Paris with your husband makes me think she is highly manipulative, and/or she needs therapy rather than a trip. So perhaps you and your parents could pay for a therapy if you can afford it. Magistardist wrote. This. She's jealous right now and seeing less of her is likely for the best. Disco Feverish says jealous and manipulative. This is straight up manipulation to try to get a free trip to Paris. Mauzai539 wrote I also think the parents are trying to manipulate the situation. Seems like they want this girl out of their house for a break. The says, yep. And she'll never get to go on a romantic vacation? You're young, Brittany. Way too early to make those kinds of declarations. Creative_energy 533 commented. And what do you want to bet? If OP did take sister-in-law to Paris instead of going with her husband, the second Brittany finds a new man, she would jet off to some romantic location. OP is NTA and should have her romantic trip to Paris with her husband. Brittany might just calm down about it by the time they go, hopefully. Lastly, from FoxyRoxy2515, commented, totally agree. OMG, the cheek. I'm a widow, so you should give me all your husband's nice and expensive gifts because that's the only way I can experience it. Oh, poor me. Jesus, the entitlement and manipulation. And the parents are totally unreasonable too. What do you think she should do? Cancel on her husband and take her sister-in-law? Or just go with her husband and jet away on this romantic vacation and ignore Brittany? Comment down below. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for leaving the house and not helping my pregnant housemate even though I promised? I'm 17-year-old female, I live with a 19-year-old woman, Kathy, and another 17-year-old called Paula. Our situations are all similar but also very different. I left home at 16 due to my mother's and sister's mental health issues making life unbearable and the house a borderline biohazard. Paula left home due to neglect, and Kathy left foster care due to it being too unstable for her. Kathy is about 7 months pregnant with her first baby. She has something called hyperemesis gravidarum and SPD, and I don't know too much about babies or pregnancy, but I know she's really struggling, physically and mentally. I know hyperemesis gravidarum is pretty much just chronic constant morning sickness. She's pretty sensitive to smells and the sight of certain foods. I work in a small restaurant basically as a dishwasher, and I live in Europe, so there's no tipping culture here. So whenever a tip is sent into the kitchen, it gets decided among all 5 of the kitchen staff. It rarely happens, but when it does, it's a good day. That happened this evening. We had a group of American tourists in who sent in a €50 tip, and it was split amongst us. I was really excited about this because all my money goes on bills and groceries, so I was finally able to treat myself. I got a meal from the local Thai restaurant, and I was very excited for it. I got home and left it in the kitchen. When I went to lock my cat into my room, upstairs, he's a cunt and will try to steal my beef. In the fucking 2 minutes it took me to get back to the kitchen, Kathy threw it in the outside bin because she said she could smell it from her downstairs bedroom and it was making her want to throw up. I got really mad because it's the first time I've been able to get myself something like that in about 6 months. And even though I didn't raise my voice, I did call her a bitch and told her I've restricted what I eat for so long to avoid making her sick. I told her this is the one thing I was looking forward to all day, and now she's gone and ruined it for me. She cried. I left the house, but Kathy called and reminded me I had promised to help her build the baby's crib this evening, because it needs to get done before baby comes. I did promise, and I hate breaking promises, but I don't want to go back home tonight. Paula texted and said Kathy has been crying and stressing all evening, which might be bad for the baby, and she thinks that's making me an asshole for putting unnecessary stress on Kathy. Am I the a-hole? Now for the anticipated top comments. Joe's Wasted Time commented, "Not the a-hole, it's absolutely not appropriate for her to be throwing out anything that isn't hers regardless of her pregnancy and complications. She can build her own crib or replace your meal in my opinion." Fakequeen_ says I go one step further and say and. Not or. She can build her own crib and replace your meal. Then she knows you mean business. Lelala commented, and it sounds necessary to draw that boundary for when the baby comes. Sounds very possible that OP will be asked to accommodate her then too. Healthy_inspector_93 says my thoughts exactly. If she really wants and expects you to help out, she can start by apologizing for throwing out your food and wasting your money, and then paying you back the money for the food. If she is in a tough spot as well money-wise, then she should have respected how much money the food cost and what it meant to you before she threw it away. Fowards_nothing5979 comments, not the a-hole. She could have waited and asked you to take it outside to eat. When confronted, she could have paid you the cost of the food. Only help with crib if she pays for tossed food. Save some cash each payday so you can afford to live by yourself at some point. Do you think she was a a-hole? Comment down below on what you think. If you like these stories and want to listen to more, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is very much appreciated.